So guys, I want to find out whether power is a priority within your current training program. Is this something that you are working towards? When you look at your cycling, your running, your triathlon training, your strength and conditioning programming, is power on paper? Can we clearly see that you are working towards being able to produce more power? And why is this important? Because guys, today we're going to be going through some of the practical things that you can be doing to implement more power into your training. And obviously we're going to talk about the why that is important. But first and foremost, guys, we are losing power on a daily basis. If we just go about our day-to-day lifestyles, if we are just going to work, we are waking up, being parents, working our jobs, running our businesses, going about our day-to-day living, because of our age, because of a down-regulation in hormones, because of a sedentary lifestyle that a lot of us live, a lot of us aren't in places where we can express power on a regular basis. Some of you may be still participating in sports that are forcing you to do so, but then there comes a question as to whether your body can still tolerate that amount of work. If you're someone who is lucky, who's still playing racket sports, who's still playing team sports, but still playing with a level of assertiveness in your body that requires demands you to be moving at speeds, moving at intensities, then potentially you still are harnessing a lot of power, the residual power from your early years. But again, is your body now still able to tolerate that? And maybe you're starting to see telltale signs that your body isn't. But essentially, guys, power is, we want to be working towards it because it truly is the thing that can fortify us. It can give us that long-term resilience that a lot of us are longing or wishing for, or want or desire. Most of us, myself included, want to train every day to a certain degree. I want to move with purpose. I want to be able to say yes to any opportunities. If an event, a race, or anything comes up, I generally just want to be able to say yes. But to do that, to be able to jump in on a random game of football, or if I want to go and play some tennis, or I want to go and climb a mountain, or I want to go for a long run or a hike, I want to jump on my bike, I want to attack some hills on my mountain bike. My body is going to be I'm expecting my body to be able to tolerate a lot of work. Power training raises the bar. It raises the bar of your potential. It allows your body to understand or acclimatize to the forces and the impacts and the demands that are likely going to be placed upon you in your sports. By introducing and implementing small doses of power into your training on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, you're simply acclimatizing and preventing this kind of down-regulation, this downturn in other words, you're preventing yourself from getting weaker. A lot of people get to a place where they are scared, whether they admit to it or not, or they're highly anxious about putting power interval speed efforts into their body. We see so much conversation around zone 2 training and people love talking about it. They love leaning into it. Why? Because it's safe. It's scarily safe. To the point where actually it does the opposite to us. It erodes away at us. And so many people that we work with have literally just they've committed to zone 2 training. That's all they do. They look at their heart rate. They're monitoring their zone 2 efforts. And they just put volumes and high volumes of training into their body, hours of riding, running, swimming into their body. But what they're lacking? What are they lacking? They're lacking intensity. And why can we say that? Well, it's because their body is hurting. They've got these tendinopathies are starting to creep in. They're starting to notice that they're not peaking. They're not getting the same output they used to. They're not getting the times. They're not able to get to the distances that they used to. Why? Because they've lowered the bar. They're lowering the bar. There's this illusion that if you just focus on zone 2, that your body's going to be able to continue enduring. But what happens at the breaking point of your aerobic system is your chassis. Your focus is on building an engine, but you're not focusing on building the body. The body is the vessel that's going to carry you. A lot of people right now, and evidence is everywhere. Just look at, again, I always talk about this, but how many people are injured? How many people have injuries on a yearly basis? Most people within the endurance community have at least 1 to 2 injuries on a 12-month annual basis, because they lack resilience. Power training, and we'll talk about what this looks like, but power, developing power, working towards power, but increasing your power output. You are forcing your body to work harder. Okay, you're forcing your body to organize itself under speed, under load, under high force. That is forcing your body to organize itself, to your tendons, your ligaments, even your bone tissue to stay strong. If you do not do this and you just stay at a low frequency of training, a low intensity, and you just then add volume and high volumes of work on top of this, on top of your lifestyle, there's just going to be an erosion. And again, this is where we see inflammation of joints. This is where we see a decline in bone density. We see people literally falling apart from the inside out because they lack intensity. And then they get to a place where they're scared to put intensity back into their bodies because they've got to this fragile state. This is what you can combat this. You can combat this by bringing power back into your training, purposely bringing periods of power training into your week, into your training program, where you are building, and you're building this baseline of strength first, but then you're on top of that, you're starting to then bring in dosages of power, because again, it forces you to move better. It forces you to respect your body and understand where there's potential weaknesses are. It's one of the most important things you can be doing for yourself is to give yourself these minimal doses. Now, some of you flirt with it. You bring it in track sessions. You may bring in FTP tests. You may bring in interval training on your bike, in the water. I need you guys to be doing it away from these environments as well. I need you to be doing it in your gym training sessions, in like pre-run, post-run, post-ride, pre-ride. You need to be putting it into your body on dry land and on 2 feet, because you can lie to yourself. You can lie to yourself on the bike. You can lie to yourself in the water, 2 buoyant environments where you're doing power-based training, your interval-based training, but you're still not putting those forces through your bones, through your ligaments, through your tendons. There's a reason why a lot of people who are scared to put power through their body on their feet then jump onto a bike or into the water. The true test of your power is going to be put by putting force through your feet. Like, we talk about plyometrics, but you can be running based as well, working on your run drills. Like, this is why it's so important for us to be working on your ground force reaction, putting power into your feet, putting force through your feet. How does your body respond? Is it still moving with good synchronicity? Is it still moving with good synergy? This is lacking from so much programming. And if it is there, it's in there in very short amounts of, in very short dosages, like in time frames. You're seeing it people's programming for like 1 month of the year or something. The quality is going to come from you doing it all year round, but then also dialing it up and dialing it back at those appropriate times within your training program. But first and foremost, before I get into some of the key things you can be doing to obviously integrate this and what does this look like, the prerequisite is that you don't have any obvious areas of weakness. You don't have any obvious injuries. You're going into your power-based training having a relative level of strength across the board. Again, being on the bike, in the water, you can mask this. You can compensate for a long period of time. You can kind of put work elsewhere, see your body, and compensate for other areas of weakness. Running, not so much. If you are weak and dominant in some areas, that you're going to notice that your body's going to mechanically fall apart very quickly if you're starting to do interval-based training sessions, or you're starting to do more power-based work in the gym. So prerequisite to all of these things is going to be the fact that you need to be relatively injury-free. You've got to be a very low level of symptoms. But also on top of that, you've then got to make sure we're really holistically strong across the board. You don't have any obvious areas of weakness. But number one, in terms of going about any of all this stuff, by the way, guys, is making sure there's a plan and a program and a periodization to it. If you are random in your design, you will be random in your results. And you are also going to be introducing this type of power so randomly that your body is not going to be able to tolerate it. You're going to break easily. So having a logical approach to this, a progressive overload where we build this up, you build up the intensity, you start easy and you build and build and build over the sessions, over the weeks. That is hopefully a no-brainer when it comes to when you're introducing power, speed, etc. Isometric training, static holds, working on time under tension is a great way of starting to introduce power into your body. Why? Well, because it forces stability in your body. It's going to force you to engage and activate and all those buzzwords, but it's going to force you to understand force your body to start to tolerate greater levels of force through your body. So doing a maximal isometric contraction of your calf, of your calves or your hamstrings, where you're going up bilaterally, so two-legged to start with, and you're driving through those calves as high as you can, and you're looking to hold that for as maximal time. Now, you go into the elite levels of performance, you'll see people doing this on force plates and working against they'll be wearing like on vests, be attached to force platforms. They'll be really testing the actual the real ground force reaction. For those of you at home, go up into your calves, literally both feet, drive up high and stay up high. And how long can you stay up there for? We can do this for time, and you can do this single-legged, and it will tell you a lot about your body's ability to tolerate high levels of force. And that's what we're trying to do, guys. We're trying to establish a threshold. You're trying to establish a ceiling, a current ceiling. because it will tell you something about yourself, whether it's for time, whether it's for, for the amount of force you put through the ground. If you can measure that, you could do this with your hamstrings as well. Can you go up onto into a bilateral double hamstring bridge, then driving nice and high, full extension through your hips? From here, can you hold that for a maximum amount of time? Can you do this on a single leg? Can you extend your hips to full extension? Can you hold that for a length of time? This is going to tell you what sort of tolerance you have in these key muscle tissues. Hugely, hugely important. So isometric contractions are hugely powerful. Time under tension, working into the squat, holding that squat position, holding phases of your deadlift pull, pulling a weight off the ground but pausing at different phases. Breaking these movements down, holding under position, fantastic way of understanding whether you can tolerate higher forces. Plyometric drills are going to come in. They have to come in, and they're going to be coming in thick and fast in your training program if you are someone who is lacking this. Now, there is a progression to plyometrics. You start off at a low tolerance where you literally have never done it before. We're literally going to be understanding what your levels are in terms of your jumping and your jumping ability. Can you jump and land with control on the spot, getting an inch off the ground? Minimal work. But we want to work through that spectrum. We want to work on your ability to produce and absorb power through both feet, through one foot. But we want to get more and more acclimatized. We're leveling up your dosage. We're literally week on week. Yep, got that. No problem. No symptoms. But essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to force more work from your body. We can go, most of you will be very familiar with obviously more dynamic plyometric exercises like box jumps, etc. They are way down their spectrum, guys. So Olympic lifting, where you're starting to develop power through your triple extension, through your hips and through your ankles, through your shoulders, etc. But that is only going to come with you earning the right to get there. But with us manipulating contrast training, where we're developing raw strength and then raw power, working on your cumulative fatigue, building up your ability to produce power, that's got to be in all year round. Most people don't do it all year round because they abuse power. They don't know how to program power. All they do is they either go maximal or they don't do it at all. Power can be manipulated where we can bring in light, minimal doses all throughout the year to keep active, to stay engaged, to make sure you've got good Achilles strength, good Achilles resilience, good plantar fascial resilience, working on your hamstring activation. Like these areas can be worked all year round because you're running on them, you're riding with them, you're walking on them. Why can't you be stimulating them all year round? But peak power, needs to be periodized. We want that to come in for specific blocks of training, and we will look to target this at different times throughout the year, whenever we get a chance, opportunities throughout in between your events, or we get a nice run up, a lead up to things. So we've got an 8-week cycle, 12-week cycle. But building power using plyometrics is absolutely important. And then going to the dark place, number 3, guys, understanding that when it comes to your effective power training, you've got to be able to push and go to that higher levels of intensity. Some of you are very happy to go there, potentially on the bike, maybe in the water. But when it comes to your running, like everyone, even into your latter ages, should be able to have the ability, or the God-given right, to be able to go maximal. It is the truest test. When are you going truly maximal in your running right now? Like what? Like even if you're someone who wants to run 100 miles, so what? Does your body have the ability to tolerate 10, 20, 30 meters of sprinting? If not, why not? Wouldn't it make sense that your body's ability to tolerate those higher forces would then correlate with your ability to descend and ascend with confidence, building in that tendon strength, ligament strength, bone density? We want to work on that maximal power. So maximal output has to be in your programming, but again, it cannot be abused, otherwise it will break you. So understand that you will have to, or you want to be able to push your body to those maximal levels at different times, but understanding that needs to be prescribed appropriately. So guys, 3 key things for you to focus on. Power needs to be a priority in your programming. Would love to know whether it is or it isn't in yours. And any questions, as always, get in touch.